All right. Hello, students. You're welcome to the Rock Tutors Online. And right now, I'm your economics teacher, and I'll be solving relevant questions that will make you score A's, 90s, 100 in your forthcoming exams. So I want you to listen attentively as we solve relevant questions that will be useful, to the success of the forthcoming examinations. Go with you. Economics. Question number 1. What is the mean of the following set of commodity prices? $2, $4, $6, $7, $11, and $6. Now, we are asked to calculate the mean, which is a particular topic in economics. The topic it belongs to under economics is statistics. To calculate mean, you need to understand the formula so that you won't make mistake. To calculate mean, as you see this one belongs to ungrouped data. You understand? And to calculate the mean, the formula to calculate that is this. Mean equals to summation x all over n. What is summation x? Summation x is the addition of the values. You understand? What is n? The n represents the number of values. So from the question above, $2, $4, $6, $7, $11, and $6 are summation x. So we have to add them together. That is, mean equals to $2 plus $4 plus $6 plus $7 plus $11 plus $6. So we are going to add this over n, the number of values: 2, 4, 6, 7, 11, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is over 6. Then if we calculate it, 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. 12 plus 7 is what? That is 19. 19 plus 11 is 30. 30 plus 6 is 36. This will be 36 all over 6. So, therefore, our mean equals to 36 divided by 6, which is equals to 6. Our mean is $6. You understand? So, from the options, option A, B, C, D, the correct answer is C. Option C, which is the $6. The next question. The quantity demanded for a normal good. The quantity demanded for a normal good always A, vary positively with price, B, vary inversely with price, C, have a constant relationship with price, D, have no relationship with price. The quantity demanded for a normal good. Now, they are trying to ask us the relationship between the price and quantity demand. The relationship between the price and quantity demand is negative. The relationship between the price and quantity demand is what? Is inverse. If you don't see inverse in some textbooks, you will see negative in a particular textbook. Why? If you look at the equation of demand, you can see that it is QD equals to A minus BP. That is the equation of demand. Now, the relation between the demand and price is what? Is negative. Why is it negative? When the price is going up, quantity demanded will come down. That's why we said there is an inverse relationship. As the price is going up, then quantity demanded will come down. That is why if you want to buy, for example, a bottle of Coke, if they tell you that a bottle of Coke is 500 naira, and you're having 1,000 naira on you. If you have 1,000 naira on you and you want to buy maybe a bottle of Coke, you can use the 1,000 naira to buy 2 bottles of Coke. You understand? But in case there is inflation, getting to where you want to buy the Coke, and they suddenly tell you that Coke is now being sold for 700 naira, that means you will only be able to buy 1 from the 1,000. But when it was being sold for 500 naira, you could buy 2. but now that it's being sold for 700, you can only buy one. That means when the price is going up, quantity demand will come down. The higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. That is why it is stated as the law of demand. When the price is going up, quantity demanded drops. So let's go back to the fact that from what I've explained, quantity demanded and price, there is a negative relationship. As price is going up, the quantity demanded will be coming down. You understand? So from the question above, to get our answers right, the quantity demanded for a normal good always very positively replied. I didn't mean it is supply. When we talk about supply, when the price is going up, quantity supply will also go up. Because by the time the price is up, the producer, the supplier will want to offer more for sale so that he can make more profits. But at this point, we are talking about demand. So when the price is going up, what you will be willing and able to buy will drop. Because as the price is going up, quantity demanded will drop. So that is why there is an inverse relationship between the quantity demanded and the price. So very positively repriced cannot be the option, cannot be the right answer. Then B, very inversely repriced, that is the perfect answer. C, have a constant relationship with price. No. Have no relationship with price. No. There is a relationship with price, but the relationship is inverse. So the correct answer is B, very inversely with price. The next question. Question 3. The demand for goods with many close substitutes. The demand for goods with many close substitutes. For example, close substitutes, we can talk about Pepsi and Coke. Close substitutes. Pepsi and Coke. If you get to the market and you cannot find Coke to buy, you can decide to buy Pepsi because they taste alike. If you get to the market, maybe you want to buy Bonvita and they tell you that Bonvita is not available, you can decide to buy Milo. Close substitute. So close substitute simply means when you cannot buy one, you can buy another one, and that another one will still give you the taste, the value, of what you intend to buy from the market. So back to the question, the demand for goods with many close substitutes, and the example I gave to you, Bonvita and Milo. What happens to the elasticity? A, zero price elastic. Is it zero price elastic? B, perfectly price inelastic. No. C, price inelastic. D, price elastic. For a close substitute, it's going to be price elastic. Why is it price elastic? The reason why it is price elastic is this. When the price of Coke is up, you will not want to buy the Coke. Automatically, you will switch to buying what? To buy Pepsi that has a lower price. That is why it is price elastic. And anything that has elastic, that means you'll be able to draw from one particular commodity to the other as a result of increase in price of one. Are you getting what I'm saying? So now the demand for goods with many close substitutes. So any goods that has close substitutes, when the price of one is high, the alternative will actually attract more demand because of what? Because of a lower price. You understand? So the perfect answer to this is option D. It is price elastic. Because when the price of Coke is high, for example, people will not decide to buy that Coke. They rather go and buy the Pepsi that has a lower price. So in this kind of situation, when you leave one for the other, as a result of the increase in price of one, it is price elastic that will be effective in that particular scenario. So the answer to this is price elastic. That is the perfect answer to that. The next question. The next question. Question 4. If a 10% reduction in the price of a good leads to a 10% increase in the quantity demanded, the total revenue will be what? If a 10% reduction in the price of a good leads to a 10% increase in the quantity demanded, the total revenue will go up. Now, total revenue. When you want to calculate your total revenue can be calculated by multiplying price and quantity. So price times quantity will give you what? Your total revenue. Coke, for example, as I've been saying, if the bottle of Coke costs 500 naira, you understand, and you have 12 bottles to sell, one bottle of Coke 500 naira, you have 12 bottles of Coke to sell. Now your total revenue will be price times the quantity of the bottles of Coke you are selling. So if the price is 500 and you have 12 bottles of Coke, your total revenue will be 500 naira times 12, price times quantity, which will be what? Which will be 600. So 600 will be the total revenue. And to get your profit can be calculated by deducting total cost from total revenue. Are you getting it? Now, total revenue minus total cost will give you your what? Will give you your profit. But to get the total revenue, you multiply price and put it together. It's going to give you your total revenue. Now, to this question, if a 10% reduction in the price of a good leads to a 10% increase in the quantity demanded, we can know that the rate of change in the price, and the quantity demanded is the same. Automatically, the effect on the quantity demanded will be what? On the total revenue will be constant. That is why the perfect answer to this is what? Is remain constant. Is C. You understand? A 10% reduction in the price of a good leads to a 10% increase in the quantity demanded. The total revenue will be what? It will remain constant. When you calculate your elasticity of demand, if it is less than 1, it is inelastic. If it is greater than 1, it is elastic. If it is 1, it is unitary. So when a rate of change of price has the same effect on the quantity demanded, it is either unitary or what? Or constant. You understand? So when we look at this question, if a 10% reduction in the price of a good leads to a 10% increase in the quantity demanded, the total revenue will be constant. Had it been, it is not 10% reduction, maybe it is 12% reduction, and leads to so, it will be constant. But the reason why we are maintaining the answer to be remaining constant is because the 10% impact in the reduction of price has the same rates in the quantity demand. That is why the perfect answer to that is that it remains constant. Option C. The next question, question 5. If goods X and Y are normal substitutes, if goods X and Y are normal substitute, for example, fish and meat, normal substitute. If you decide to buy fish, you may decide not to buy meat. And if you get to the market, they tell you that the fish is more expensive, you can decide to buy meat. They are normal substitutes. So if goods X and Y are normal substitutes, an increase in the price of X will lead to an increase in the price of X. You know that an increase in the price of X will lead to an increase in the demand for Y. Why? Because if there's an increase in demand for X, people will not buy the one that has higher price. They rather go for the one that has a lower price, because everybody wants to maximize profit, everybody wants to have savings, everybody wants to minimize costs. So it is a normal thing. Substitute, like I told you, fish and meat. You tend to buy fish when you get to the market, and they now tell you that the fish you want to buy, instead of it to cost 10,000, they're now telling you it is now 20,000, of which the equivalent meat still remains 10,000. So instead of you to now buy the fish that is now being sold for 20,000, you may decide, you will even decide, that no matter what, for now, I don't really have much on me, let me go for the meat that has a cheaper price. So when the price of a particular commodity increases, then the demand for the substitute will also increase. Because the price of the original thing you want to buy has increased, automatically the demand for it, the capacity, the willingness, the readiness to buy will drop. So you rather go for the one that has a cheaper price. That is why the other will have an increased demand. So what are they saying here? If goods X and Y are normal substitutes, an increase in the price of X will lead to increase in the demand for Y. So let's look for demand for Y. An increase in the demand for good Y. An increase in the demand for good Y. You understand? And a decrease in the quantity demanded for good. No. An increase in the quantity demanded of good Y. Of good X. No. A decrease in the demand. It is an increase in the demand. Quantity demanded for good Y. An increase in the quantity demanded for what? For good Y. Because an increase in the price of X will make people swap, to buy more of good Y. So automatically, the quantity demanded for good Y will increase. The next question. A country can produce only two goods, motorcycles and bicycles. In order to increase the production of motorcycles, the quantity of bicycles produced must be reduced. This implies that there is, if you look at the question very well, it is being discussed under the topic, this topic, production possibility curve. Production possibility curve. And when we talk about production possibility curve, it is the graphical representation of two commodities that can be produced, given a level of technology or the resources that will be needed to produce those things. What are we talking about? For example, government wants to produce, they just tell you that, okay, we want more hospitals, we want more road construction. Because of the scarcity of the resources available, they may decide that this year, 2025, we are going to do more of constructions, maybe more roads, you understand, rather than building more hospitals. Okay, 2026, let's factor in more hospitals. You know, the reason why all these things are happening is because of what? Is because of limited resources, scarcity. So it can be a producer goods or a capital goods or consumer goods. If you are going to use your resources to produce more of capital goods, automatically the consumer goods you are supposed to produce will reduce. You understand? The consumer goods you are supposed to. So the reason why this is happening is because of what? Limited resources. I'm throwing these questions to you, that the reasons why we study economics is because of what? Is because of scarcity. The resources we have is not enough, even to an individual, and as a matter of fact, even to the government. So that is why we have to rationalize and maximize the little resources we have on us, so that we can have the best, you know, out of whatever we are dishing out. So a country can produce only two goods, motorcycles and bicycles. In order to increase the production of motorcycles, the quantity of bicycles produced must be reduced. That is certain. This implies that there is a excess demand for bicycles. No, not because of that. Scarcity of economic resources. That is the answer. We don't need to, you know, talk further. Too much money in circulation. No, under employment of resources. It is the scarcity of economic resources. That is why we decide to focus on one and reduce, you know, our production of the other. It's a normal thing. Everybody, no matter how rich a country is, we have to give priorities. We have to set priorities for some stuffs, you know, simply because of what? The limited resources we have on us. So the perfect answer to this is option B, scarcity of economic resources. The next question. Efficient production implies efficient production. Efficient production implies that there is A, availability of capital, B, extensive market, C, adequately developed infrastructure, D, effective factor combination. Availability of capital, extensive market, adequately developed infrastructure, D, effective factor combination. Now, efficient production. What does efficient production mean? When production is efficient, number one, the cost will be minimized. Very important. Number two, the production, the output will be maximized. You understand? And number three, there will be less wastage. When what? The production is efficient, there will be less wastage. That means you maximize your resources to get the best out of it, and you get more value in return. So now, availability of capital. Capital is good, but we've seen people who have more than enough capital, you know, and at the end of the day, the production is not efficient. Probably maybe because of those that are handling it are not skillful enough, they are not skilled enough. You understand? So it may not fully, you know, that cannot be the major factor that can make productions to be efficient. Now, extensive market, yeah, you may have a broader market, but what you are delivering, how did it come together before you deliver it, and people will actually pay for the value they are getting. Now, adequately developed infrastructure is good, but that's not the only thing that can contribute to efficient production. But effective factor combination, you have skilled workers in place, you have awesome, wonderful, you know, technology advancement that you engage in the production process, and things are coming out well. You understand? You have solid infrastructure, you know, everything. By the time you put them together, what you are bringing out is making sense, and the production is efficient. So the perfect answer to this, effective factor combination. The next question. An example of a factor of production in a tailoring company. An example of a factor of production. What are the factors of production we have? We have land, we have labor, we have capital, we have entrepreneur. And as we have them, we have rewards. They all have rewards. The reward to land is what? Is rent. The reward to labor is what? The reward to labor is wages and salary. The reward to land is rent. Then to capital is interest. And to an entrepreneur is profit. Now, this question they are asking us, an example of factor of production in a tailoring company is what? Rent paid on the factory building. Rent is just a reward. Rent is a reward, not an example of factor of production in a tailoring company. It's just a reward. And like I told you the other time, rent is a reward on land. So that is not the answer. B, total income of all labor employed. Total income, the wages and salaries you are paying to your workers. You understand? That is not the example of factor of production. That is not the example. Effort put in by the tailor. It is the effort you put in by the tailor that can be categorized as what? As a factor of production. Because human being, as you engage in that production process, it is your effort you are putting in, that represents the factor of production. So the perfect answer to that is C, effort put in by the tailor. Profit made by the tailor, like I said the other time, is the profit to an entrepreneur. The profit the entrepreneur makes is that, but effort put in by the tailor is an example of factor of production in the tailoring company. So the perfect answer to that is C. Before I discuss about the next question, I want you to kindly subscribe to this YouTube channel, at the Rock Tutors. Feel free to share it to your friends. Let them also learn and relearn so that everybody can succeed maximally. You can have 100 in that economics, and at the end of the day, you'll be so glad that we are making the impact. So don't enjoy this class alone. Feel free to share it to your friends, like it, and subscribe. Thank you so much for doing that. The next question. One disadvantage of the capitalist economic system is that capitalist economic system is a system whereby the means and distribution of production is controlled by an individual. And we have different countries practicing capitalist economy. You understand? USA, UK, Australia, Canada. You understand? They are all practicing capitalist economy. You understand? It is a process, a way whereby the means and distribution of production is being controlled by a single individual, by a private individual. And their goal, most times, is to make profits. You understand? So now, one disadvantage of the capitalist economic system is that productive capacity is privately owned. That is a future. That's a future. So it's not a disadvantage from the question. It results in wide income inequality. That is a disadvantage, which is the perfect answer. It cannot be resources are allocated by the price mechanism. Resources are allocated by price mechanism because what determines the price under a capitalist economy is the force of demand and supply. So resources are allocated by the price mechanism is one of the features of a capitalist system. The aim of production is profit maximization. Like I told you that time, a capitalist will always want to maximize profits. But if you look from the question, one disadvantage that is result in wide income inequality. Why is it wide? Everybody cannot make money at the same pace. Under a capitalist economic system, the rich will be getting richer and the poor will be getting poorer. Because the rich will always amass. They will always maximize opportunities because of the money they have. So indirectly, no matter what, they will make more money. So if you look at it, it's going to result in wide income inequality. That is why the perfect answer to this is option B. The next question. The quantity supply of a commodity will increase. If there is an increase in quantity supply of a commodity will increase. Quantity supply of a commodity will increase if there is an increase in now demand and supply. Demand and supply is a major subject, major topic that they ask you a lot of questions. So if you understand it very well, you will score, you will have a very good mark in that forthcoming exams. So you need to understand the concept of demand and supply very well, so that when you come across some of these questions, you blast them and do well in that exam. Now, what are they saying? Quantity supply of the commodity will increase if there is an increase in the price of the products. There are many factors that can affect demand. Likewise, supply. Many factors. Price is one of the factors affecting supply. Technology is there. Weather or climate condition is there. Government policy. There are many factors that affect supply. But when we are talking about how price affects supply, when there is an increase in price, like I said the other time, that the quantity that a consumer, a producer is willing to offer for sale will do what? Will increase. You understand? There's a positive relationship between the price and quantity supply. So now, from this question, which one is the perfect answer? Taxes or factor inputs? No. B, price of its substitutes? No. Price of the product? Population of consumers? No. It is the price of the product. The quantity supply of the commodity will increase if there is an increase in price of the product. So when the price increases, the quantity that a producer, a manufacturer, is willing to offer for sale will increase. Automatically, there is a positive relationship between the price and quantity supply. When the price is going up, quantity supply will also go up. So you have to understand that clearly. So from these options, the perfect answer is price of the product. The next question. An expectation of a future increase in price will encourage producers to an expectation of a future increase in price will encourage producer as a manufacturer, as a producer, when we are expecting that price will be increased in the next few weeks. Two things will be involved. Number one, you will quickly produce more today and wait till that time that the price will increase so that you can sell more and maximize your profits. Another thing that can happen, even the few things you have as a manufacturer, as a supplier, you can decide to hold it down and wait till that time that the price will increase. All because of what? Maximizing your profit. So two things are involved if you are expecting price to increase in the nearest future. Number one, you can produce more, you will produce more and wait till that time that the price will be increased so that you can make more money. Or the little you have, you hold it. You understand? When you hold it and wait till that time, you'll be able to sell more and make more money. So from the option and especially on the future increase in price, will encourage producers to do what? A, produce more goods now. That is the answer. But let's check the other options. Stop production level of change. No. C, leave production level of change. No. D, produce less goods now. You can't produce less. The perfect answer is C, produce more goods now so that you can take advantage of the future increase in price and make more money. You understand? The next question. 12. If price rises by 8% and quantity supply increases by 3.8%, then what happens? You can easily get this by calculating. You can get this by simple calculation of elasticity of what? Are we talking about supply? Elasticity of supply. Now, when we look at elasticity of supply, elasticity of supply equals to what? Equals to percentage change in quantity supply on our percentage in price. And for that question, elasticity of supply will be what? Percentage change in quantity supply, what is it? That's a 3.8%. 3.8% over percentage change in price over 8%, which is equals to, that's 3.8%, 3.8 divided by what? Divided by 8%. 3.8% divided by 8%. 8%. The answer is 0.475. 0.475. This is 0.475. And like I will say the other time, when you calculate your elasticity of supply or elasticity of demand, if your elasticity is less than 1, it is what? It is inelastic. All right, so like we said, ABC, the average variable cost equals to 8 on the output, because to get average variable cost, you have to multiply, you have to divide the total variable cost by the quantity or the output. That is why ABC equals to 8. We've gotten total variable cost to be 8. So average variable cost will be 8 divided by output, which is 8 divided by 12. So what is 8 divided by 12? 8 divided by 12. That will be 0.66. 0.66, whatever. 0.66 or 0.7. Do you have it there? Okay. The answer is 0.67. You understand? Approximately, it is $0.67. You have to put the units. It is in naira, it is in dollars. Make sure you write it there. So the perfect answer to that is 0.67. You see the way we calculated this. It is not straightforward. We calculated the total first, and after getting the total, we decided to now work out the average. And like I told you, how do we get the average? By dividing the total by the number of outputs or the quantity or the units. Is going to give you average. That's why when after getting 8 as our total variable cost, I divided by the output and it gave us 0.67. So the perfect answer to that is option A, $0.67. Next question. One advantage of homogeneous product sold in a perfect market is one advantage of homogeneous product in a perfect market. Other perfect markets, we have different markets. We have perfect market, we have imperfect market. And under perfect market, we have different futures, large number of buyers and sellers, homogeneous commodities. What do they mean by homogeneous commodities? That means the product you are selling in that market must be the same in the presence, in the eyes of everybody. If everybody is selling Omo detergents, then if one person is selling Omo detergent, then everybody in that market will be selling Omo detergent. If everybody is selling Duracell battery, then in that market, all will be selling Duracell battery. You understand? Homogeneous commodity, it must be the same. Homogeneity is actually one of the features of money. Money must be the same in the eyes of everybody. 500 naira in Ogun State is the same as 500 naira in Kaduna, Kano, another state entirely. Homogeneity. So, in a perfect market, homogeneous commodity, the product must be the same in the eyes of everybody. You understand? So there is free entry and free exit. Everybody is a price taker. Name it, all the features that are embedded. So now let us look at it. Now say one advantage of homogeneous products. Let's check advantage homogeneous products sold in a perfect market. It attracts a large number of buyers and sellers. We already know that we have large number of buyers and sellers. Free entry and free exit. Anybody can come into the market. They sell their product and they can get out anytime they feel like. Expenses on advertisement are not necessary. That is a major advantage. Because why do I need to advertise when we are all selling the same thing? You understand? Do I need to put on advertisement? It's because there is competition. And I want my own product to look better, than another person. That is why you can decide to advertise. But when you are selling Omo or Duracell battery, your neighbor is selling Duracell battery, another person is selling Duracell. Do I still need to waste my money on publicity? No. And I think it's a major advantage because we know a lot of people that spend so much on publicity, on advert, just to make their products to look different, in the eyes of their potential buyers, and so that they can get more patronage. So it's another advantage if you are not really spending on adverts. The expenses on advertisement are not necessary. It's a major benefit. Government control is necessary. That's not a major benefit. Factors of production are not free to move. Expenses and advertisement are not necessary. That is the perfect answer to that, and I believe it's clear to you. The next question. Question 20. Before solving this, I would like you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Rock Tutors. Feel free to subscribe, share it to your friends. I believe you've gained one or two things, from this class. So don't enjoy it alone. let your friends spread the good news. Apart from the YouTube, we are also on TikTok, Facebook. So try to connect, and I trust God that you are going to excel in your forthcoming exams. Question 20. If a commodity is sold for $2 in one market, but sold for $3 in another market by the same producer is selling the same product, different prices in different market. In another market by the same product, then there is what they call it price discrimination. Price discrimination, you are selling your products to different people at different prices. That is what they call price discrimination. The same product, you are selling it differently. You know, you can decide to do promo for a particular product. If you are buying the first time to buy my product, you are going to pay $100,000. After that first week, whoever will be buying products will be paying $200,000, $300,000, the same products. You understand? So when you are selling a commodity sold for $2 in one market or sold for $3 in another market by the producer in another market, you can decide and sell a particular product in a particular location for a particular price, go to another location, sell the same product at different price. We call it price discrimination. So that is the perfect answer. D is the answer to that. Question 21. The term unlimited liability means that, you know, we have limited liability, we have unlimited liability. When we talk about limited liability, that means if you are doing business and your business, you are owing a lot of people, there is debt. You understand? You are into debt, you run into millions of naira debt, and if at the end of the day, what you lose does not involve your asset alone, you know, what you does not involve your money alone, the money you put into the company, into the business. If you go extra mile, if that debt goes extra mile to eat into your personal assets, into your belongings, like your car, your home, that is what? That is unlimited. You understand? That is what? Unlimited. That means you have lost your money, and at the same time, it eats deep into your personal belongings. That is unlimited. But if it is limited, it's only your money in that particular company that will be affected. It will only be limited to your money. You understand? In that particular organization. That is what is called limited. So let's check this again. The term unlimited liability means that in liquidation, only the assets of the business will be claimed by the creditors. In liquidation, only the assets of the business. No, this is limited. You understand? We are talking about unlimited here. Only the asset can be. Now, the continuity of the business is not assured if the owner dies. Continuity of the business is not assured if the owner dies. That's not what they are really talking about. They are talking about unlimited liability. What does it mean? See, a firm must pay its debt from the business as well as from personal private assets. That is the perfect answer. C. Then D, access to funds are unlimited. No. A firm must pay its debt from the business. Whatever you are contributing to the business, if you lose it, as well as from private assets, no matter what, it will result to you selling the properties to be able to be out of debt and embarrassment and the likes. That's what is called unlimited liability. So it means it will go beyond your personal money you have contributed into that business and enter your personal assets. You understand? That is what is called unlimited liability. The next question. Public corporations sometimes do not benefit the citizens because they are what? Public corporations sometimes do not benefit the citizens because the public corporations at times, honestly, I feel tired because some of the things that they give to us, we may not even enjoy it optimally. You understand? Public corporations. So what are the not benefit the citizens because what? A, charge exorbitant fees for their services. Some of them, they charge exorbitant fees for their services. Some people will not use lights as expected, and at the end of the month they will bring bill. This is the amount to be paid. You know, it is ridiculous. It doesn't make sense, especially in this part of the developing country. You understand? So they charge exorbitant fees for their services. The services, one is not enjoying, they bring huge bill. Said you are going to pay. This happens a lot in developing countries. You understand? Then discharge their duties most efficiently. You know, that's not it. Public operations sometimes do not benefit the citizen because restrict consumers' choices, operate at odd hours. Two options are likely to be correct under this. Charge exorbitant fees for their services. Yeah, public operations do it and it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it's somehow then restrict consumers' choices. If you have choice, thank God that it's just recently, for example, NEPA light. You know, we discover if the public operations are doing well, they are supposed to give us light 24 hours, especially in this part of the country called you know. So restrict consumers' choices. We don't have choice, so that's why we have to just subscribe to their services, even though we are not even enjoying it, what we are paying for. So restrict consumers' choice. If we have choice, honestly, we will subscribe to that. So it's either this A or C. You can go for one, but the stronger one, it restricts consumers' choices. Public operations sometimes do not benefit the citizens because they restrict consumers' choice. They restrict our choices. This is stronger because if you have choice, honestly, we won't actually subscribe to that. It restricts, but because we don't have choice, we keep paying them, even at the detriment of our enjoyment. The next question, 23. A small retailer is able to compete with large retailers because the former. Which one is the former? The small retailer. The small retailer is the former. A small retailer is able to compete with large retailers because the former. What happens to the small retailer? Is able to sell at lower prices. You can't sell below cost price. You know, that cannot be the answer. Offers cash discount to buyers. Enjoys internal economies of scale. No. It's usually located in a convenient place. You can see most of the small retailer, they are usually located at a convenient place. Some people, it's even in their house. They are selling one or two things. Some beside their house, you know, they usually located in a convenient place. So a small retailer is able to compete with large retailers because the former, that means the small retailer is usually located in a convenient place. That is the perfect answer. D. The next question. In the process of distribution, prices of products may increase as a result of the activities of influence of distribution. When you talk about distribution, channel of distribution, you talk about from a manufacturer to the wholesaler, from wholesaler to retailer, from retailer to the final consumer. That is the production channel. That's the production chain. So in the process of distribution, prices of products may increase as a result of the activity of what? Activities of wholesalers. Wholesalers is the middle person. Imagine if the consumers are getting their product directly from the manufacturers, then the price will be reduced. But because of this middle personalities between the manufacturers and the consumers, no matter what, additional price will be added. So in the process of distribution, prices of products may increase as a result of the activities of what? Of wholesalers, because the wholesaler will calculate the amount of money spent on transportation from the producer to his shop, you know, and the likes. Before you know what happen, the price increases, and at the end of the day, it increases the amount the consumers will be buying it. The next question, 25. The supermarket in a town increased their stock of sweets and toys. The population of the town is likely to be what? The supermarket in a town increased their stock of sweets and toys. The population of the town is likely to be what? An increasing population, an aging. It cannot be aging population, because aging population, all these elderly people, they cannot be taking sweets and they can't be playing with toys. A declining population, no, a small population is not small. So the available option that looks like it, that is it, is an increasing population. An increasing population, because the population where we have young ones, you know, young people, you know, they eat sweets, and before you know what happen, they will keep producing, and the population will keep increasing. It can't be aging, it can't be declining, it can't be small. So the perfect answer is an increasing population. The next question. A strike action to agitate for wage increase by a trade union may not be successful. Strike, maybe they are not doing well and they decide to strike. Okay, if there is strike, how will it be effective? How will it not be effective? Let's look at the option. By a trade union may not be successful if the workers offer essential services. If they offer essential services, it will be successful, no? Because the activities in the economy will be grounded. The marginal productivity of labor is high. If the marginal productivity of labor is high, that strike will be effective. That means what they are doing, what they are doing on a daily basis is contributing maximally to the production level in that economy. So they will miss it in case they strike and they are not coming to work. The government will miss them. A large percentage of the labor force are members of the union. Well, it's possible. If a large percentage of the labor force are members of the union, because they are the one that will make law, and they may also decide to break it. But if a large percentage of the labor force are members of the union, if they are members of the union, it will even make the strike to be effective, because everybody will be united to make sure that whatever is working at all is working well. There are substitutes for the commodities produced by labor. This will not make the strike effective. This will not make the strike effective. There are substitutes for the commodities produced by labor. If there are substitutes to be produced, government will not even answer them. What will they do? They are going to just make provisions to get the substitute. So it will work. That's why in anything we are doing, let us be so valuable that we cannot be ignored, so that people can be paying for our services and they can keep leveraging on our expertise. So there are substitutes for the commodities produced by labor. This is the perfect answer. It will make the strike effective if we have substitute for the action. You understand? The next question. When all the mining sites in a particular locality are shut down, the area will experience. All the mining sites in a particular locality, if they are shut down, what will happen? It will result in unemployment, of course. But what kind of unemployment? Voluntary unemployment. Voluntary unemployment. What is voluntary unemployment? Maybe you decide voluntarily not to work again, so that you can give attention to your family, immediate family. You understand? So people may decide that this kind of work that I'm doing is affecting my family. I do not have time to raise my kids very well. I'm not giving attention to my husband and the likes. So if you decide to stop your work in that regard, that is what is called voluntary unemployment. It's not that you are not employed. You are employed, but you just felt you want to go and study, you want to go and do a master's or PhD. You can decide to stop your work and go and face that for things to actually be better in the long run. So that is voluntary unemployment. Residual unemployment, maybe you are just unemployed because you've gotten a job before and you feel you are not, it's not really giving you the joy, you are not enjoying that job. So in the process, you are looking for another job. That one it is temporary, residual. It doesn't last long like that. It is temporal. So residual, it can also be called frictional. You understand? So you can easily shift from one job to another, but in the process of shifting from one job to another, you may still be idle. That is what is called residual unemployment. Structural unemployment. Structural unemployment, it is this one is somehow permanent. It is somehow permanent. It can be you may not be employed due to the technical skills that will be required by you to be able to contribute to that particular office or wherever. So if you don't have a particular skill, you understand, for example, tech skills to be able to do one or two things in a tech company, if you don't have you can be unemployed. You understand? So anything that has to do with skill and you are not having it yet, so automatically you will be employed. So, and most times this kind of unemployment lasts longer than the time you actually envisaged. There's seasonal unemployment. When you talk about seasonal unemployment as a result of season, unemployment as a result of season, so people can be unemployed maybe when there is no rain. When people can be employed, you can sell more products during rainy season. That's when you sell more of raincoat, you sell more of umbrella. You understand? Some people that time they work more and out of the season, they won't be employed. That is seasonal unemployment. So now, when you now talk about mining site in a particular locality are shut down, there will be experience. It's going to be structural unemployment, because anyone who actually have experience in mining, there is more likelihood that he won't have experience to be engaged in another job. And since the mining whatever sites have been shut down, what will he do? He will need to wait for a long period of time, for him to be engaged in another, because of the experience he has actually had, which cannot be transferred to the new job he's looking for. So the perfect answer to that is structural unemployment. The next question. 28. The main benefit of cooperative farming is that when you talk about cooperative farming, they pool their funds together. Many farmers, they come together and pool their funds together, so that what? So that they can maximize their product, they can break bulk, they can buy less, and they can enjoy some profits together. They share profits together because they make money. They pool their funds together. They are able to buy things at a cheaper cost, and at the end of the day, there is a kind of mutual benefit they enjoy amongst themselves. So the main benefit of cooperative farming is that it enhances economies of scale. That is the perfect answer. Economies of scale. What do you mean by economies of scale? The benefit you derive from the production, of a particular commodities or products. Whatever you enjoy, if it is internal economies of scale. If it's as a result of the people, external factors around you, it is external economies of scale. But if it is internal, you have the reduced cost of production, you produce maximally. Those are the things that happen when we are talking about economies of scale. The benefits that accrues to you, the average cost of production is down, and as a result of that, you make more profit. So enhances economies of scale because they have access, they have pool of funds that can be harnessed to get something in large quantity, and they get it at a cheaper rate, which is going to benefit all the members. So that is the perfect answer. Creates jobs for Israel. No, that's not the name. Enables its members to monitor the business, makes its members to pay low tax. The major benefit is enhances economics of scale. The next question, 29. In West Africa, more workers are engaged in farming, mainly because of what? In West Africa, more food needs to be produced. The capital-intensive method of production is employed. Governments need to create jobs. The method of production that is used requires much labor. In West Africa, more workers are engaged in farming mainly because of what? Because the method of production that is used requires much labor. In the developing country, we engage more of human, labor intensive, not capital intensive, because we are just developing labor intensive method. So as a result of that, the method of production that is used requires much labor. That's why in West Africa, more workers are engaged in farming, mainly because of what? The method of production that is used requires much labor. The next question. An industrial policy that encourages local production of foreign goods is called what? Import substitution policy. Import substitution policy, so that we can produce more within the country rather than relying on importation from abroad. So import substitution policy is an industrial policy that encourages local production of foreign goods. It is called what? Import substitution policy. So the perfect answer to this question is option C. The next question. An obstacle to industrial development in West Africa is what? An obstacle to industrial development in West Africa. Industrial development, use of machine. Industrial development in West Africa is what? Inadequate supply of labor, unavailability of natural resources, poor infrastructural facilities, absence of market for industrial goods. It is poor infrastructural facilities. Poor infrastructural facilities. An obstacle to industrial development in West Africa is poor infrastructural facilities. So that is the absence of market for industrial. That cannot be the answer. Unavailability of natural resources. We have different natural resources. Inadequate supply of labor. We have labor. You understand? But poor infrastructural facilities is actually an hindrance to industrial development in West Africa. The next question. A firm that is best located close to the source of the raw material, a firm that is best located is quarry. For example, quarry where they make cement, away coal. You understand? Quarry, they break, it is quarry. If you look at it very well, source of raw materials, a firm that is best located close to the source of it is quarry. It can be brewery, it can be bakery, it can be soft drink factory. So the best option in this is quarry. It's quarry. Then the next question. The best measure of standard of living of a country is what? The best measure is income per head. That is per capita income. It is used to measure the standard of living of a particular country. That is income per head, per capita income. The best measure of standard of living of a country. It cannot be national income alone, can't be foreign exchange rates, gross domestic. It is income per head. The next question. Activities of full-time housewives leads to. The activities of full-time housewives cannot be added to the national income because they are not engaged productively in the society. So full housewife, prostitutes, beggars, whatever they are doing, they are not contributing productively to the national income. If you, by the time you are counting it is double counting, to result to double counting, and as a matter of fact, it is that it cannot even work in adding it into the statistics of the country. So activities of full-time housewives lead to what? Growth of the GDP? No, because it can't be added. Increased national income figures? No, it can't be added. Decline in the population? No. Underestimation of it is underestimation of the national income, because full housewives, they are not participating productively, you understand, to the national income. So if you decide to go and be adding their activities, it will lead to underestimation of national income. 35. The demand for money varies inversely with what? The demand for money. The demand for money. Why do we demand for money? We demand for money. We have, different reasons why we hold money. We hold money for transactional purpose. We hold money for speculative purpose. For what again? For precautionary motive. Now, transactional purpose, motive, why you hold money for day-to-day activities. You want to buy anything, you have money to buy it on a daily basis. That's transactional. But when you talk about precautionary, unforeseen contingencies, it is very important you save money for unforeseen. Anything can happen anytime. You save money for that. Then speculative, for business purpose, for investment. You understand? So now, the demand for money varies inversely with what? It is with the rate of interest. The demand for money. Why do you hold money? You can decide if the rate of interest makes sense. If the rate of interest is high, you will not hold your money. You rather save more in the bank, because at the end of the month or at the end of the year, the interest on it would have increased. So the demand for money varies inversely with the rate of interest. So if the rate of interest makes sense, if it is high, then you will hold less of money. But if the rate of interest does not make sense, you will hold more money. Hope it's clear. So from this question, the demand for money varies inversely with the what? The rate of interest. It can't be size of population. It cannot be level of income. It cannot be general price level. The perfect answer is the rate of interest. The next question. A likely effect of an increase in interest rates on savings is a likely effect of an increase in interest rates on savings is a likely effect of an increase in interest rates on savings is what? A likely effect of an increase in interest rates on savings is what? An increase in savings. Increase in interest rate. Yes, you will save more and demand for money. No. You cannot demand for money, even though the savings will increase. You can't demand for money. A fall in savings, no. A likely effect of an increase in interest rate. If there is an increase in interest rate, you will save more. You understand? You will save more. You will save more, and you will demand for money less. That is what we are looking for. A fall in savings and an increase. No. An increase in savings and a fall in demand for money is the perfect answer. C is the perfect answer. An increase in savings, you will save more because there's an increase in interest rate. It still makes sense for you. Instead of you to be holding it, then you leave it in the bank. Increase in savings and a fall in demand for money. So option C is the perfect answer. The next question. 37. In order to maintain price stability in an economy, government should, in order to maintain price stability in an economy, government should A. Reduce our expenditure. B. Reduce personal income taxes. C. Increase salaries and wages. D. Increase our external borrowing. Reduce our expenditure, reduce personal income taxes, increase. The perfect answer to this is to reduce our expenditure. In order to maintain price stability in an economy, government should reduce our expenditure. Government should reduce our expenditure in order to maintain price stability, because reduce personal income taxes. If you reduce personal income taxes, there will be more money in circulation. And if there's more money in circulation, it can lead to inflation. Increase salaries and wages. When the salaries and the wages of workers are increased, it will increase the purchasing power. And when the purchasing power is increased, there will be inflation. Increase our external borrowing. When you pump money into the economy by borrowing, there will be more money in circulation and the purchasing power will increase, which will lead to inflation. But considering the first one, reduce our expenditure. When you reduce your expenditure due to deficit financing, automatically the purchasing power will draw back, which will cause the economy to be bit stable. An economic government, in order to maintain price stability in an economy, government should reduce our expenditure. The next question. Commercial banks aid economic development mainly by commercial banks aid economic development mainly by A. Acting as a lender of last resort. They can act as lender of last resort. That is the function of a central bank. Central bank acts as a lender of last resort. B. Performing the role of executors of rules. No, that's not their function. C. Stimulating savings and investment. That is good. Managing the public debt. They are not the one that manage public debt. Stimulating savings and investment. You save, and by the time you need money for investment, you can even try to approach bank for loan. They will give you loan, you invest and you make more money. So stimulating savings and investment is the perfect option in this question. The next question. A person engages in tax evasion if he, now there are two types. We have tax evasion, we have tax avoidance. Tax evasion is illegal. Tax avoidance is still legitimate. You understand? Tax evasion is what? Illegal. Tax avoidance is still legitimate. When you have some understanding of what to do, especially when it comes to some tax policies, you can use it to reduce the amount of tax you are going to pay. If it is legitimate, that is tax avoidance, just to reduce the cost, the tax you are going to pay. But when you are talking about evasion, you don't even want to pay, you are just using all the crooked means, to reduce your tax or to even run away from paying what you are supposed to do. So now let's look at it. A person engages in tax evasion if he A. Refuses to pay tax using illegal means. Refuses to pay tax using illegal means. That is the perfect answer. Pays more tax than is expected, fails to tax, refuses to pay tax using legal means. No. Tax evasion, refuses to pay tax using illegal means. So the perfect answer to that, is what? Is A. Refuses to pay tax using illegal means. The next question. 40. A government engages in deficit financing. A government engages in deficit financing, like I said the other time, if the expenditure is more than revenue, then there is deficit. You understand? Or if the revenue is more than the expenditure, there is surplus. You understand? So now, a government engages in deficit financing where a deposit with the central bank is increased? No. A proposed budget is balanced? No. She receives more revenue from taxes than spent? No. She spends more money than the revenue she receives. This is it. She spends more money. When you spend more than the revenue you receive, that is what? That is deficit financing. So a government engages in deficit financing when she spends more money than the revenue she receives. The next question. 41. A common feature of a developing country. The common feature of a developing country is A. Low rate of illiteracy among the population. B. High proportion of time allocated to leisure. C. Large contribution of the primary sector to the gross domestic product. D. Low prevalence of sicknesses and diseases. A common feature of a developing country. Low rate of illiteracy. No. Low rate of illiteracy. There is high rate of illiteracy, in a developing country. High proportion of time allotted to leisure. No. Large contribution of the primary sector to the GDP. This is the perfect answer. A common feature of a developing country. Large contribution of the primary sector, not the tertiary sector, because it is developing. So there is large contribution of the primary sector to the GDP of that particular country. So that is a common feature of a developing country. The next question, 42. All that things being equal, a country will experience rapid economic development. All that things being equal, a country will experience rapid economic development if birth rate is increased to allow for rapid population growth. B. Rate of industrialization is increased. C. Primary exports are increased. D. Only urban areas are developed and made attractive. The perfect answer is rate of industrialization is increased. If the rate of industrialization is increased, all that is being equal, a country will experience rapid economic development. The next question. International trade encourages production above what can be locally consumed. Because of the international trade encourages production above what can be locally consumed, because you know that what you are producing is not just for your country alone. Other countries that need your products will want to buy. So you produce more than the immediate need in your particular country. So that is one of the essence of international trade. So let's look at the option. International trade encourages production above what can be locally consumed because of the A. Presence of barriers to trade. No. Absence of transportation costs. No. Creation of wider markets. D. Unavailability of medium of exchange. International trade encourages production above what can be locally consumed because of the creation of wider markets. So apart from your immediate family, immediate country, other countries can say so. To create markets for a wider market, there is need for international trade. The next question, 44. A country that over-relies on crude oil exports is likely to face the problem of what? Oil glut in the market. You rely on oil alone, there will be oil glut in the market. That is the negative, that's the adverse effect. In relying on a particular commodity, there will be oil glut in the market. A country that over relies on crude oil exports is likely to face the problem of oil glut in the world market. The next question. The limited availability of resources in economics defines the concept of what? The limited availability of resources in economics defines the concept of what? Of scarcity. Now, there are basic concepts of economics. We have opportunity cost, we have choice, we have scale of preference, we have which other? We have scarcity. You understand? Scarcity, opportunity cost, scale of preference, and want. These are the basic concepts of economics. But you must know that the reason why we study economics is because of scarcity. It's because of what? It's because of scarcity. Your wants are unlimited, while the resources to satisfy them are what? Are limited. If I give you an higher education, a very big notebook, begin to write everything that you want. Honestly, you continue to write till tomorrow. You continue to write till tomorrow. You even get to a point you forget. You remember again. You continue to write. But the resources to satisfy those wants are what? They are limited. So from this question, the limited availability of resources in economics defines the concept of what? It simply defines the concept of scarcity. So that is the perfect answer. The next question. Scale of preference will help consumers to, what is scale of preference? Scale of preference simply means the arrangement of your needs in order of importance. The arrangement of your needs in order of importance. For example, I need a biro, I need a pencil, I need a ruler, I need a whatever. I will now arrange it. The reason why I need to put up my scale of preference is because of the limited resources. So in writing them down, number one on my scale of preference is what is the most important. That is scale of preference. You arrange everything you need, and everybody needs it. Not even to a commercial student alone. The sciences, the arts, everyone, our parents, they need it. Simply because the money we have on us is not enough. So to get any particular thing, we can write them out according to how important they are. We put number one to be the most important. Then we start to buy, we start to demand for those things, and we start to, that is scale of reference for you. You arrange your list of needs in order of importance. Now, scale of reference will help consumers to what? Be rational, be irrational. No, you can't be irrational in decision making. No. Buy all the commodities needed. No. You can't buy all the commodities needed because you have a limited resources. Determine is your budget size. No price of goods in the market. Satisfy the most important needs. Satisfy the most important needs. Because under the scale of reference, the number one is the most important. So you have to write it out based on their importance, and what do? You start to buy them as you have the money. The next question. Give the following scores. Given the following score of students in economics test: 10, 20, 10, 40, 10, and 60. What is the modal score? What is modal score? Modal score simply means it is the score that occurs most. It's as simple as that. Modal score, the score that occurs most. So which score among these scores occurs most? 10 appears how many times? 2 times. 20 appears how many times? 2 times. Okay, 10 appears 3 times. 10, 10, 10, 3 times. 20, 2 times. 140 and 160. So the modal score is 10. 10 occurs how many times from this? It occurs 3 times. So the modal score is what? Is 10. The next question. If a 30% rise in the price of a commodity X leads to a 40% increase in quantity supply, the supply is said to be what? A 30% rise in the price of commodity X leads to a 40% increase in quantity supply. Like I told you, when you want to calculate your elasticity of supply, because from there you can know if it is elastic or inelastic. It is the percentage change in quantity supply over percentage change in price. So what is the percentage change in quantity supply? That is 40%. 40% divided by percentage change in price, 30%. 30%. The answer is 1.33. That is elastic because it is greater than 1. 1.33. That is elastic. A 30% rise in the price of commodity leads to a 40% increase in quantity supply. You can see that the impact is even higher than the price. So we can know naturally that it is elastic because the percentage change in quantity supply is greater than the percentage change in price. Automatically, it is elastic in nature. And by calculation, we got 1.33. And if we got 1.33, you know that whatever is more than 1 under the nature of elasticity, you know that it is elastic supply. So when you look at this very well, it is elastic. A is the perfect answer. The next question. The reward for capital as a factor of production is what? Reward for capital as a factor of production. What is the reward for capital? Capital interest. You understand? Reward for land, rent. Reward for labor is what? Wages and salary. Reward for an entrepreneur is profit. So reward for capital as a factor of production is what? Is a interest. So the perfect answer to this is B. Question 50. The measure of dispersion that is easy to calculate is what? You have measure of dispersion. You have measure of central tendency. When you talk of measure of dispersion, we have different calculations under it. That's where we have the range. That's where we have the mean deviation. That's where we have the standard deviation, variance, and the likes. So the measure of dispersion that is easy to calculate is what? Is the range. Range is the easiest. Because how do you calculate the range? Range simply means the highest number minus the lowest number. Simple. So that is the simplest. So the measure of dispersion that is easy to calculate is what? Is the range. It's not mean deviation. It's not quartile. It's not standard deviation. It's not variance. The one that's easy to calculate is range, because range simply means the highest value minus the lowest value. Then you get your answer. You know that it's as simple. Like I said all the time, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed, do it now. Subscribe, share to your friends. Let them also learn. Let them enjoy the class. You understand? Feel free to join our channel, share it to your friends, like, and make sure you give us more people. We want more people on our platforms, and we'll be glad you did that. Thanks so much for having you. The next question. Now, 51. You can see from this diagram, we have, this is y, this is 0, this is x. Now, this is supply. You can see the supply curve. It shifts backward. This is S2, S2, S1, S1, S2, S2. It shifts. You can see this arrow. It shifts backward. The movement of the curve from S2, S2 to S1, 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 S2 to S1 is what? Is what? Is decrease in supply. We can see it is decrease in supply. Abnormal supply. It can't be abnormal supply. It's not abnormal supply. When you talk about abnormal supply, it is a supply curve that looks like a demand curve. That is abnormal. Are you getting it? You know it's abnormal. Decrease in supply. This is a bodily shift of supply curve to the left. The leftward shift is a decrease in supply. Equilibrium price, that's not equilibrium price. Equilibrium price is that price where the quantity supply equals to quantity demand. That is equilibrium. Where the quantity supply equals to quantity demand. At that point is equilibrium point. At that price is equilibrium price. At that quantity is equilibrium quantity. Then increase in price. You can see that there is no increase in price. That's what we are talking about. Increase in supply. This is not increase in supply. Had it been the arrow, instead of going leftward, it moves rightward. It would have been increase in supply. But from what we are seeing on this table, it is decrease in supply. The next question. An increase in the price of meat, which leads to increase in demand for fish, is dash demand. An increase in the price of meat, which leads to increase in demand for fish, is what is that demand? It is competitive demand. It is competitive demand. It cannot be complementary. When we talk about complementary is still the same thing as jointly demanded commodity. For example, ink and biro. For example, gas cooker and the cylinder, they go together. Another example, there are many kerosene and stove. They are jointly demanded commodity. We call it complementary demand. Composite, it can be composite. It can be composite. Derived, it can be derived. Effective demand is that point where you are paying for the particular commodity you want to buy. That demand has become effective. When you are willing and able to buy, by the time you pay for the commodity you want to buy, it has become effective demand. Derived demand, you are getting that demand, you are buying it for the purpose of what is going to produce. That is what is called derived demand. Composite, you can use that particular stuff, that particular product, to a lot of things are coming out from it. Cocoa, for example, we can have many things that it's composed of many things that can be gotten from it. That is composite demand. Complementary, jointly demanded commodity. Competitive, fish and meat. For example, when the price of fish goes up, you decide to go and buy meat that has a lesser price. So an increase in the price of meat, which leads to an increase in the demand for fish, is what? Is competitive demand. The next question. Now, if we look at this very well, this is production possibility curve. Consumer goods, capital goods, production possibility curves. In figure 3.2, points TNG illustrates. This is the point on the graph TNG. At that point, resources are efficiently used. Resources are what? Are efficiently used. Below the curve, the resources are not efficiently used. Below the curve, they are underutilized. Below the curve. But after the curve, it is unattainable. You understand? But on the curve, it is efficiently used. Now let's go back to the question. Point TMT does say that only one product can be produced? No. Production is not feasible? No. Resources are efficiently used. Resources are efficiently used on this curve TMG. Resources are efficiently used. There is waste of resources. There is wider spread of unemployment. So the perfect answer to this question is resources are efficiently used. The next question. 54. When you see this graph, this is called fixed cost. At this particular cost, irrespective of the output, it is still the same cost. We call it fixed cost. This is not average cost. This is not marginal cost. This is not total cost. This is not variable cost. This is fixed cost. So anywhere you see this kind of curve, you should know that it is fixed cost. The next question. If a firm produces 30 units of a commodity at 55 naira each, calculate the total revenue. I said initially when I started teaching you that to get total revenue is as simple as ABC. Just multiply price and quantity. So your price times quantity will give you total revenue. If a firm produces 30 units of commodity at 55 naira, calculate total revenue. What is the price? 55 naira. What is the quantity? 30 units. So 30 times 55 will give us total revenue. 30 times 55, 30 times 55, that's 1,650. So 1,650 naira is the total revenue. So the perfect answer to this question is D.